learning journey. We're a part of the healing journey. It's such an honor for us to be with you tonight along this journey. Again, we're on the journey with you. I am on the journey with you, and some days are better than others. A Saturday was my son's 31st birthday. He went in when he had just turned 19, and now he's 31. That was a real hard day for me. But you know what? I was able to gather support from my family. And tonight we're going to talk about the importance of the family support. You know, there's so many emotions that go on when you're on this journey. You know nothing, you don't know anything about the law and what goes on, but the importance of family and having that support means the world to you as well as the inmate. And you know what? Let's get away with the labels. Um Victim, inmate, prisoner. Let's It's dehumanizing. So let's give them our loved one. Let's say that. I think that sounds a lot better than giving them labels. I went to a conference this weekend and we talked about restorative justice. And a lot of you may not know what restorative justice is. And restorative justice is it's a way to have a resolution to avoid incarceration, to avoid jail time, all of that. And it is so, if I would have known about restorative justice, you know what? Maybe some things would have been different. So, part of our job is to support you, but it's also to educate you on what's out there. Restorative justice, it really seeks to right the wrong that has been committed and repair the damage that has been sustained by victims, offenders, and communities. So, let's say our loved ones, okay? And what
Yes.
they do, they sit together as a mediation. How can we repair this? What can we do? Sometimes there is community service hours that the person may have to do. And you know what? That helps to repair things in the community because a lot of times the communities are the cause for a lot of the anger and a lot of things that goes on. Our communities, some of them are set up to fail. So when you have communities that are set up to fail, what happens with the loved ones in those communities? So let's look at it from that perspective tonight, restorative justice and how they're brought together to restore the harmony between the parties. It includes direct mediation and conflict resolution between the offenders, their victims, their families, and the community. So remember that restorative justice. You know what? You might know someone right now that is going through something. So, restorative justice practices. I am a part of Florida Restorative Justice, and when something happens, if you contact us, the first thing we're going to do, hey, let's get restorative justice in it so we can try to avoid and sit down and talk together. Lee, good evening to my co founder and my partner, Lee.
Good,
And I welcome you.
good evening, Lynn. It's such a pleasure to be here once again. And I just thank everyone for being here with us, especially our Facebook audience that are so supportive and they keep coming back and they just keep showing love in every way to us. It's so important to us and we appreciate everything that you do. So thank you, all of you that are out there. We love
Yeah.
you.
Yes, we do. And now we're on YouTube. So please go to our YouTube channel, subscribe. Then you can watch it whenever you want. Same thing on Facebook, but we're trying to build that audience on YouTube. So please make sure that you do that. We have some interesting guests lined up going forward that are going to educate you and also support you because we know this is an emotional journey. So this evening we have Loretta, which we call Lori, and Loretta Kelly. She is my mother and the grandmother of my son. And then we have James Kelly Jr., which is Jimmy, that is my brother. And I just want to thank them for down through the years. We're starting 13 years of support, undying support. I couldn't have made it without them. And I want to talk about how first when it happened, how my mother was my support. When it happened, I was sitting here with her in her home, And we had just gotten new iPhones. And she said, yes, we're going to get some new iPhones. And we went to the AT&T store and we got some iPhones. And I'm sitting here showing her technology and showing her how to work the iPhone. And I kept getting a phone call, and it was the South Carolina Department of Corrections. And she's like, who keeps calling me? I said, honey, somebody just needs to talk to somebody on a Friday night. They got the wrong number. And I kept saying the wrong number. And then I heard the message, Mom, come get me. I've been arrested. 7 hours away. I was frantic. My mom and my dad calmed me down. My dad was not in the position at that time because he was going through chemo treatments. So he wasn't in the position, but he prayed with me right then and there. And that prayer gave me that motivation to do what I had to do. My mother was that nurturing soul that just took me in her arms and says, it's going to be okay. You know, we all three cried together because this was hitting our family. We didn't know what to do. We had, oh my God, we didn't know. So I jumped in the car with no clothes or anything and took off for South Carolina. I called the college. Nobody could give me any information. I knew nothing. I called my brother. And before I called my brother, I called my sons. And, you know, one hopped on a plane. He was in California and he has a law enforcement background. He says, I'm on my way. But I felt so alone. I was by myself. So my brother, he was constantly there. And as I told you before, I was driving very fast. I got a ticket on the way and I knew I had to get there. I was not thinking straight. But my brother was thinking straight. My mother kept continually calling me, where are you? Are you okay? This is the support that many of us don't have, but we need. So I want to make sure that you all glean that what I'm saying, that support is important. Yes, anger, you're angry. You don't know what to think. Why? You don't know because you're not getting the whole story. I knew that next morning that there would be a hearing. When the hearing came, I could not take him home. They said he was a flight risk. There was no bail that would be set. So we needed an attorney. Attorneys were calling because the case was so big, they wanted the case. But my brother was level headed and he prayed with me again and my son. And he was the logic one that came in and we all conferred together. Now, you know, I ain't have no money. You know, these attorneys want big time bucks. Child, I did not have that money. My mama had me out there getting that iPhone. I didn't have the money for these attorneys, and we're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars. Well, my brother knew a banker right there in Georgia where he lived. And because of his good relationship, a name means so much. And he had that relationship with his bank. He said, I will go ahead and do this so we can get an attorney. So we thank God for him. And Mom, would you like to say from a grandmother's perspective how it affected you, but how you were able to support me and support B on this?
I believe in prayer, and I prayed, and the worst part of it, that was one of those evenings I think that I had endured in a long time. In seeing my daughter get on the road at midnight, traveling for 8 hours by herself to go see about her son. But that showed the kind of love that a mother has for her son. Those have been the hardest days. And I remember this young man from the time he was born until this happened, in that there were many times that I would babysit for him like most grandmothers. His grandfather as well. He was the kind of boy that you could reprimand him, but he had reality, a boy that just loved you anyway, in spite of how you might have reprimanded. I remember when he was ready to go to college, my husband and I sat down him as grandparents would do. And I remember his grandfather saying, now, you know, you're going to another state that things might be than they are here where we live. And you driving with a group of young men, because sometimes you see a number of young men in a car like that, not as sympathetic to whatever. So be very careful. And of course, an incident happened, and that we had to get through that. But I think one of the worst things for me was to have him sentenced with a sentence that was more than he deserved for what little he had done. And I see people who do worse and serve so little time. And that that always hurt me, for seeing that here we were, had never gone through any of this before, all new for us, and to endure whatever. We made up our mind that with prayer and with all that a family can do to make his stay there as pleasant, if you want to say pleasant, to make it durable for him, that he would be able to make it through. We praise his mind, that his mind would not be destroyed in this. We prayed for his safety. We prayed for his health. And every chance we got, we would go see him. And it would usually be his mother to drive us or my grandsons to drive us. But every opportunity that we were able to go visit him. And I can say that that is very important when a young man or a young woman is rated, is to have contact with their family, because that's what really keeps that mind from
Amen.
going on them. They're able to endure. And then all of the other things that we could do to help him, we did it, and we are doing it. And I say that when his time comes to come home, that young man remember his brothers and sisters who are incarcerated, and that he will be able to do whatever he can to help them, because he's been there and done that, and he knows it's like. And I'm looking forward. I just saw him in August. I'm looking forward to going again to see him every opportunity I have, because it means much to him to have us. And also say that I realize that the prison sometimes does not do all that they could do as far as educating them, and as far as providing mental counseling for them. There's so many things that can be done. And I also say that there are things that sometimes churches can do as groups. Time it might be a holiday, that maybe if they are permitted to fix a meal, a Thanksgiving meal or a Christmas meal, take it to these young men. They don't get that kind of treatment, home cooking, and that would mean so much to them. That would be bringing home to them. So there are just so many things, but through it all, God enables us to do the job. And as grandparents, yes, we have that love, and we do all that we can do for them when they're growing up. And when an incident like this happens, it breaks our heart, but we don't give up on them. That is one thing. Never give up on them. Give them love, encouragement,
Yes. Thank you so much, Loretta, for that. And you see how important that support is. And for those of you that don't have that support, we're here for you. We're on that journey. We've walked a mile in the shoes. We can feel what you're going through. We know what you're going through because I still go through it. So I just, just if you know anybody that's going through, please send them to our group. We have former incarcerated that have joined us, and we're branching out and doing some things, and it's so important to have that support. And Jimmy, he just took over from where my father could not uh take over. My father passed the mantle to him at that time and said, take care of your family. And Jimmy did that at that time because because daddy could not do it. So Jimmy, your support was just invaluable. It was just there's there's nothing to say. It was just wonderful how you came and you drove and you were there and you supported me. You supported the family. You took care of the family. And that was important. So, from your perspective, how do you feel that I know that support is necessary and needed? Would you like to add to that support in the time of need?
Yes. So first of all, I picked up on something that you said when you were initially going to take care of your son, that you got a speeding ticket.
Yeah.
So, Mom, does that sound familiar? Can you believe your
Yeah,
daughter got a speeding ticket?
yes, that sounds familiar. And many times I like to drive with her to South Carolina because we always get there a little early than the average driver.
All right.
But
I'm a
she
New York
loves me.
driver. I
so,
can't.
so
I'm a
you
New York driver.
so you have to
Yeah,
know Lynn to know why we're joking about it, because if that's the only speeding
yeah.
ticket you got, girl, you're doing good.
Yep.
Um,
I'm a New York driver. I can. I'm sorry.
so first of all, it was easy for me um, to jump in because, see, I have all daughters. Lynn was a single parent and had three sons, so I kind of took them as my sons,
Hmm.
and I love them like my sons. And so um, when BJ got arrested, it just so happened that I went to Florida every month to see mom and dad, and I happened to be there that Saturday after the incident. And Lynn was gone because, like we just talked about, she was going to South Carolina to see about BJ, and I happened to be at home with mom and dad that weekend. And even extended family go through a range of emotions, just like the immediate family does. There's surprise. I spent most of the morning just in shock, not believing that
Yeah.
my nephew could have been arrested. I just couldn't get past it. And, being a former young man myself who didn't always do everything right, my initial thought was, well, okay, this was youthful indiscretion and we'll get past it. So I go from being surprised to being in denial. This be nothing. We'll take care of this. BJ will be out in a couple of weeks, and we'll get this behind us.
Hmm.
And then you go through anger. I'm angry
Yeah.
because I know our criminal justice system is not fair to black men. And here my nephew is a young, smart, never been in any trouble black man, and he's in South Carolina, one of the worst places in the world to be when it comes to criminal justice and being a black man. Uh, but all I could feel also was just compassion for BJ and for my sister, because I had no idea what Lynn was going through, but I knew it had to be hard because it was hard for me. Again, these boys, Lynn's three boys, are like my sons.
Hmm.
And it was hard for me to watch Lynn struggle with that, and it was hard for me to deal with it myself. So all I could do is, what can I do to help? And so it was easy to jump in because I was going to be there anyway. That's my nephew. That's my son. I'm going to do whatever I can to help him. And then we were overwhelmed with what do we do next. None of us were lawyers.
Mhm.
Uh, we didn't know there was bits and pieces of what happened. I don't think we all knew uh, collectively what had happened and what to do next.
Mhm.
And so I think if we could replay the whole scenario, we probably would have done some things differently.
Yes.
But like Mom said, I think the most important thing that a family member can do is support the immediate family, and then support the the person that's in the middle. In this case, it's my nephew. How do we support him? So, like Mom said, we go visit him. If you have a family member that's incarcerated, uh, you can go in and drop money in that person's account, because if you don't know, I will tell you, it's a ripoff
Yeah, for the family.
of what the prisons charge for a soda, for um, underwear, for simple things that we take for granted. It's a ripoff.
Yes.
It ought to be something that's considered fraudulent, the way they overcharge things, and it's only because they can. And I will tell you just my own personal observation from um, being now in and out of the prison system with my nephew for the last, what has it been? It's been more
Starting
than 10
13
years.
years. We're
13
starting
years.
13 years.
For 13 years, they don't care about those prisoners.
No.
And so if we don't care about them, who else does?
Right.
They do not care about those prisoners. And I think it's important, like Mom said, for us to all share in and supporting that person, loving that person, not judging, um, because
Exactly.
there's nothing you can do to change what has happened. We can continue to fight for, to stand up for, um, to push for justice, but in the meantime, that person is in a lonely,
Yeah.
desolate place that
Yeah.
doesn't care about them.
Yes.
And the more that we care and the more that we do to support them, the better it is for that person. So to this day, I pray for my nephew every single day, that God will
Yeah.
keep a fence around him and protect
Yes.
him from
Amen.
the environment that he's in. And I'm thankful because when I do go to see him, you can tell that he doesn't belong there.
Yeah.
Even the guards know that that's one prisoner that stands out, that doesn't belong there. And you can see God's light on him. And we have to continue to pray for him, because he's not out. He's not there yet. He's not out the door yet. And prison is such a bad place. And so we just got to continue to encourage him, to pray for him, ask God to continue to protect him and be there for him. So I think the most important thing we can do is support, not just by saying we support, by actively doing
Yeah.
something to support. Like I
Yeah.
say, drop some money in that person's
Yeah.
account every month. Go to see that person, visit, just spend some time, write a letter, a note, do something, let that person know that you care.
Yes. Thank you so much
Yes.
for your words of wisdom. And it is
Oh,
so important. Just what you talked about was the motivation for our lessons learned. This is how Lee and I started our lessons learned, because from our lessons learned, we never wanted another loved one to go through what we have been through. Lee has been through the same thing, and Lee opened up her heart and her home to me that evening, because there were no hotel rooms in the area because of the masters, nothing anywhere. Lee saw it on the news and all around, and I didn't even know who Lee was. But see, that's how God connects people together who have gone through the same thing. So in our support group, we want to connect with you. We want to be your support system. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We want to give our time. We want to educate you on the system and what's going on. And I don't like to call them prisoners because you know what? A lot of them are in there that should not be in there. So I want to say our loved ones because they're already dehumanized in there. You know, if you hear some of the stuff that goes on, it will make you cringe. So I want to just, educate you and support you through this. Whatever you need, we're here for you. We plan on branching out. Our next place that we're going to branch out, look for us because we're coming. We want to take this support group as well as our lessons learned. And what we do is if your loved one has been arrested, for instance, could be your husband, and you're hours away like we were, or right in the same city, you don't know what to do, call us. We're going to walk you through and connect you. We are the connectors. First of all, we're going to call restorative justice and get them involved in the process so we can avoid the arresting, jail, and things, the incarceration of the prison system. We want to work on some other measures. And I want you to know that, did you know that Florida was #1 for people on death row? Florida is #1, and they are executing them 1, 2, 3. This has to stop because you're taking anger, putting into an angry environment with no rehabilitation. What does that do? Then you come out. And when you come out, you might have parole. You might have to pay your parole officer $175 a week. First of all, you can't afford that. Second of all, technology has changed. So when you're applying for a job now, everything is online. So we're trying to work with the community. And that is the next phase in our program, is to help the formerly arrested to learn those technology skills. People that have been down there, as you heard the young man last time that was on our show, Corey said he didn't even know how to hang up a cell phone because he had been 20 years in prison. So these are the things that are so important. We want to support you as well as educate you. The Bible says that we falter for a lack of what? Knowledge. My people fail. We falter. I'm paraphrasing that scripture, so don't quote me on it, but look the scripture up. We must have that knowledge, and that's what we do every week. We support you, but also give you the knowledge. Lee, would you like to comment on anything said this evening from your perspective and from what you went through?
Everything that was said is so very important. We want to be the care for that caregiver. There are listeners out there. You may not have gone through it. You may know someone that's going through it, or one day it might be on your doorstep. You never know. Trust me, the system does not care, as Jimmy said. That first time is a first time. You're not going to know what to do. If you find yourself in that place, call us so that we can help or be a support to you or so. Everyone don't have family. So if you know someone that has a loved one that's arrested or incarcerated, that doesn't have someone there to support them, send them our way. We have enough love for them and everyone else that needs it. And as Lynn mentioned, Corey said last week, he also said he's there for everyone else that don't have someone that's there. We are there too. There are so many measures that are in place that we don't know a thing about until you're on that journey, until you've been in that place that can work in your favor. But you don't know about it because you don't know about it. Restorative justice, as Lynn said. I never heard of it until recently, very, very recently. They have wonderful things that can work in place of locking them away. So if you have someone, if you know someone, if you run into someone, let them know that we are here for them. We'd love to help as a result of what we've gone through and what we're going through. It's so important to have someone there for you to support you, just to give you a hug, sometimes just to sit and have a cup of coffee with, to take your mind away from things for a little bit, or as Jimmy said, to be there to support you on one end or the other end as you're going through stuff. It's so important. It's those little things that you will not even imagine.
Yes. Thank you, Lee, for your words of wisdom. And again, if you'd like to make a donation, go to ourlessonslearned.org and you can make a donation to our program. There's a QR code there. Just, follow us. We are connecting with other organizations and we are in this social justice movement for change, not to just be in it, but we are in it for change. We are fighting for change in the system. It cannot stay like this. We are fighting for change, and especially here in Florida. There has to be some change here. So we appreciate you
Yeah.
even listening. And as I said before, if you know anybody that needs us, please let us know. We're on here every other Monday, and we try to bring valuable information to you. We thank you. And also, I want to congratulate Sully Seeds, who has been writing letters to inmates
Yes.
and now to the loved ones. And now she has been invited to Texas to the prison there. So, she can start talking with them and everything. So these are the kind things that you can do. Corey said he never got a letter, a visit, or anything. Families kind of disown you. And we cannot do that. They need your support through the time. Work through, get into a counseling
Mhm.
program, a licensed mental health counselor. So I deal with people who have gone through trauma. It is very important for you to seek out that counseling so you can be there to support your loved one. They need you. Don't turn them away. That's when gang violence and things happen because they want a sense of belonging. They want to feel that they're accepted and not rejected. So make sure it's hard. It's hard. Nothing in life is easy. But through prayer, prayer changes things.
Yes.
So don't ever forget that. One thing I want to
Mhm.
leave you with, if you are facing if your loved one is arrested and they're still in jail, that's hard. But on that sentencing day, if they are sentenced, there's one thing that we did. There were 30 of us there that day. That morning we had a prayer vigil on the grounds of the courthouse. Then when he was sentenced, we asked, could we have a moment with him? And the guards allowed us to. My brother, we all put our hands on him, and he was shackled and chained, and that was heartening. But we put our hands on him from the top of his head to the balls of his feet and covered him in the blood of Jesus. Make sure you do that. No hurt, harm, danger, no weapon formed against them shall prosper. We leave you with that tonight. We thank you. Lee, any closing remarks, Mom or Jimmy?
I don't have any.
I just want to say from what you went through, Mother, on that night when you got that news that he had been arrested, we didn't know what to do, where to go. That made you aware that now is the that I have to do something to help other parents, other
Mhm.
mothers, other grandparents, that they will know where to go, who to reach out to help them to go through that period of time.
Exactly.
Because we were in the dark, we didn't know anything because we had never gone through that before. And I'm sure there are other people out there who were going through the same thing. So thank God, Lynn, for your insight, for your reaching out to help other people who are going through this, because you've been there and done that. God bless you for what you are doing, and we will always stand by you and stand by those that are incarcerated and do what we can to help them.
And
And
I
I
thank
say
you.
this to all. God bless you.
I
Amen.
thank you. And you know what? Lee was the one that reached out and said, I never want another parent or loved one to go through this. So together, this was the formulation, and it was all designed by God. Yes.
Thank you, Lee.
So,
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you for all of your help in this. And I'm sure that others will be able to get some help or some insight from what was done tonight.
and one closing word before my father died, before he transitioned home, He laid there and told me, don't give up on God. He's still in the miracle working business. I've never given up. I'm still praying for a miracle, but I know he's there doing God's work. I still pray for a miracle, and I never forgot that. So good night, everybody. We just
I
thank you and tune in. The next 2 weeks, we'll be back with you November the 6th. Have a great evening.
Good
Bye-bye.
night, everyone.